All right, gang, here we are. Luke Humphrey here with Hansons Coaching Services, and wanted to do a quick little talk here, give you a little visual too of talking about modifying your training plan to fit a race. And so, recent blog post I just had written. So, but there's a couple looks at the training schedules that might be worth to actually make a video of. And post as a podcast for you. So let's just jump right into it. And since this is time of writing this, it's late July. A lot of people are in their marathon training for a fall marathon. Obviously, there's a lot of 5Ks and 10Ks and stuff around going on. And then in the fall, you got half marathons and stuff like that. So what fits, when it fits, and should you even do it? So let's dive right in. So in our open Facebook group, we have about 3,000 members at the time of this. And so thanks to them, I have a nearly unlimited source of blog topics, which actually is great because I always get stuck. Right now, a frequent question we're getting is in regards to modifying the training plan in order to fit a race in. I always chuckle at responses people give. Some are so hardcore that they feel like the schedule is the quote unquote written word and will scold a person for even thinking about racing during a marathon segment, because people who know me will talk about it a little bit, but I'm not a huge fan of racing during a marathon segment, but I realize there are scenarios it is okay. Others live for racing, would race every weekend if the budget and relationships were not an issue, and their responses are the complete opposite. The truth is, depends, but like anything else, there is a time and place for everything. So let's take a look at what those options are. And one thing I will say just quickly on that is when people are racing all the time during a marathon segment, even really any training segment that they get into, I've noticed that most of those people never have really any very big breakthroughs. They'll get lucky a few times and race some decent times, but for the most part, they just kind of are stagnant for the majority of their training segment. And I think if you're really looking, and that's fine. If you're looking just to go have fun and be social and do these things and be with your crew, on a regular basis, by all means, that's fine. But for what I'm talking about, we're talking about maximizing your performance. You're putting a lot of time and effort into running a marathon, especially. And so you don't want to sabotage that by really sacrificing training just so you can get more races in. And so that's really what I'm getting at. So my general feelings on racing during the marathon segment. There are a lot of people who become discouraged with me when I discourage them from racing so much during a marathon training segment. For me, every race during the marathon segment should serve a purpose. Every race should serve a purpose. If a person is just running at the local 5K to beat a rival, but then still want to have lofty goals for the marathon, then I always have to ask them what their big picture goals are. For one, racing a 5K in the middle of a marathon segment won't do too much for your confidence. You're probably just not going to be ready. And if you follow my kind of guidelines, you're not going to be 5K sharp, and you're not going to be really ready to run a 5K. You really shouldn't have the ability to run your best 5K while you're training for a 26-mile race, right? So you're trying to race fast at something when you're training for something that's 8 times as long. So you just have to keep those things in perspective. If you do, and if you do run well, then I would be concerned, because if you are a new runner, there's never raced any distance very much, then you'll see improvement. But for any seasoned runner, it shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't see a lot of short PRs during a marathon segment if you're a fairly advanced runner. So what I see 2, maybe 3 cases for running a race during a marathon segment. Even in these scenarios, it should be at specific times during the training segment, and this we'll discuss later on. But for now, let's discuss the 3 scenarios. One is if you're trying to establish a baseline for training. So let's say you haven't raced anything in a few months and aren't really sure of what kind of marathon time you should be training for, at specific times during the marathon segment, a race can be beneficial to get a baseline for your marathon training goals, especially for newer runners who just don't have any idea what they're capable of doing. The second scenario is performing a dress rehearsal for the marathon, aka the simulator that we've talked about before. Going through everything that you would do during a race day. The purpose here is not to try to test your fitness, rather to go through every detail that you will go through on your big race day. If done right, the race is not set up for the person to race all out. So they have to go in not expecting a personal best. That's something you have to be willing to grasp at that time. Like, I'm not going here. I'm going here to nail essentially a workout, a marathon rehearsal. I'm not necessarily going in here to run my fastest half marathon ever. The last scenario is that if a race falls into a time when a long tempo can be replaced, like an 8, 9, 10 mile tempo, every segment runners will complain that they struggle doing tempos by themselves, and there's a race that would be perfect a substitution for that. While I understand the desire to have a little extra motivation to perform well on a tempo run, I know, because we talk about how big those tempos really are, I also know human tendencies. So I know that more times than not, runners will not heed the speed limits and then dig themselves in a hole that takes away from other training and sets us back. I'm always a lot less likely to give full on green lights for this option. So this is kind of the one I really don't give too many times. So let's jump into what those scenarios are a little deeper. So for short races, like a 5K or 10K, since speed is done in the beginning part of the training segment, the urge is to run these races during this block of training. And honestly, the logic here is sound. We're doing speed work. Right now it's June and July. Why not capitalize on some of that and do a 5K or 10K? And that's kind of a little bit into the reasoning why the speed is in the beginning of the segment. We've talked about other reasons why too, but one is, this is, if you're going to race 5Ks or 10Ks, over the summer, then this is the time to do it, and then we can really kind of transition into full-on marathon training. But honestly, for a lot of people, especially in the beginner, they're really doing this more to kind of establish what that baseline would be for their marathon training once they get into the bigger tempo runs and things like that. So for those with no race experience, below the chart I'm showing on here, weeks 5 and 6 of the classic marathon plan. It's a great time to establish a baseline, not only for your goal marathon effort, but how the workouts look leading up to it. So week 5 and 6. So week 5, you can see there you haven't started any workouts, and then week 6 you start the workouts. So this is actually kind of a big jump in training as well. But week 5 is really, you've kind of gone through that base period, and then you're ready to jump into workout. So if you're really looking for a true baseline, it might be a time to do it. So how I'd adjust for the race on week 5, and this is for the beginning marathon program. So Monday of week 5, Monday through Wednesday are essentially the same. And then Thursday would be 5 easy, Friday would be 4 easy, Saturday you do your 5K race, and Sunday you would do 4 easy. So you kind of do that race as an intro into the next segment. So you're not going to be fit. You're going to be fit as far as you're having built your base mileage and your ability to run a 5K, but it's not necessarily going to be your best 5K. But what it's showing you is where you're at currently, what I might be able to do for a marathon training, like setting a time goal or something like that. And it just kind of gives you the option to kind of test where you're at. Not more than anything. And then the next week you would jump into the training. I put it here too because week 5 to week 6 tends to be a big jump in training as far as all of a sudden the mileage is more and the intensity is more. So adding that race on Saturday, you include a warm up and cool down. It'll actually throw a little bit of intensity into week 5 and bring your mileage up a little bit. So that jump between 5 and 6 isn't quite as much as it would be before. So I would definitely consider it at that point. And if you can't find a race specifically in week 5, then you can set up a time trial for 3.1 miles and use that data. But honestly, I feel like just even being in Michigan, there's races every single weekend. I mean, you could find 3 or 4 races on a weekend. So it really shouldn't be that part of a big of a problem in the summer and fall. Even the spring, you should be able to find races. And in the winter, you might not necessarily want to do that anyway. All right, for advanced marathon plans, here's how it would look. You can look at week 5. You're actually already into speed work, and this is actually better for you in the advanced plan because you've already gone through a few weeks of speed and tempo. So you're actually getting fairly fit from a 5K and 10K standpoint, and you can get into a race and be a little bit more aggressive on it. So you can see there what weeks 5 and 6 look like. Not, 5 by 1K, 6 mile tempo, and then the next week you got your 4 by 1200, 7 mile tempo, and then a 10 easy on Sunday. So how I would adjust is week 5 really wouldn't adjust. I would try to miss week 5 because you have that 12-mile long run. You don't want to necessarily mess with that. Week 6, however, you can still do the workout, and then you get to the Thursday, you don't do the tempo run, right? You would basically move that 8 easy on Saturday to Thursday, keep Friday the same, race on Saturday, and then just do like 8 miles easy on Sunday. Then the following week, going into week 7, you basically just continue on. And why you probably can do that is because especially if you're only racing a 5K, you're going to be able to recover fairly quickly from that. You'll have Sunday and Monday to really focus on recovery, and you should be able to just pick up the schedule without really any type of change at all. Okay, so just looking at this a little in depth. When you race Saturday of week 6, make sure you warm up at least 2 miles, then make your cool down long enough to get to 10 miles. And so you kind of double dip, and you're getting a hard effort in, but you're also getting enough mileage to cover for that long run. Essentially, this will give you an extra recovery day, with Sunday being a shorter, easy day, and this will allow you to pick right back up on the schedule on Tuesday. Make sure you focus on recovery as soon as the race is over, the 3 R's: rehydrate, refuel, and rest. Overall, the best bet to race short is early in the segment when you're doing the speed. Nothing longer than a 5K for beginners and a 10K for advanced. With the right timing, you won't miss much as far as training, and one tempo that sandwiched between 2 similar distances, and no long runs will be missed. That's the key. You're not missing any long runs. You're not really sacrificing any training days to get that race in. All right, so for longer races, 15K to 25K, once we get past the speed workouts and into the strength, I always feel it's time you got to really be all in for marathon training. Everything you're doing is with marathon on that's your primary goal. Nothing else is really going to jut into that. So this is when training is solely focused on running a good marathon. So if you do have to race, it has to be something that makes sense from a marathon performance standpoint. In all honesty, I'm talking about an opportunity to replace a long tempo run with a long race with a few speed limits. So looking at what the beginner plan looks like, weeks 11 through 13, you're into that. You've started strength. You have an 8-mile tempo, and then you have the 16-mile long run that week 11. The following week you have strength, and then you jump up to a 9-mile tempo, and then you have a 10 easy / long run, however you look at it. So then week 13, you're back onto that strength, and then you jump up to a 10-mile tempo, and you have a 16-mile long run. So week 12 is really kind of a transition week for you, doing the strength, and that you jump up a little bit in tempo, but your long run comes back. And then once you get to week 13, that's really kind of, whoo, baby, you have the long tempos, you got the strength workouts, and you're going to have a couple more 16-mile long runs. So really, that's really when it's nitty gritty for marathon training. And I wouldn't really mess with anything after that point. So weeks 11 to 13 are common times people get the urge to race, and it's probably when it makes the most sense for longer races, as you've now progressed from speed to strength workouts. The structure of the advanced plan will look the same, just different easy day mileage. So the structure this is basically both plans. Easy mileage will be different, a little bit higher on the advanced plan. So how to adjust for different scenarios. The first one, Saturday race with a long run weekend. So essentially we're talking about having a 16-miler. So in our example, let's stick with weeks 11 to 13 in the beginner schedule. Week 11 would require no adjustments. Week 12 would be the race week and will be your week of adjustments. So first, scratch that 9-mile tempo on Thursday and replace it with Saturday's 8 miles easy. Friday would stay the same. Saturday would be your race and would take place of your tempo. Okay. Sunday should be a day to focus on recovery, but still get in 6 to 8 miles. With this overall mileage for the race week will actually be pretty close to what is scheduled, especially if you do a 2-mile tempo, or a 2-mile warm-up, 2-mile cool down, or even a 3-mile warm-up, 2-mile cool down, some kind of variation in there. You can get the mileage to be pretty darn close to what you have for the scheduled long run. And then obviously your effort's going to be higher with that. If the race is on Saturday, the following week shouldn't need adjustments as long as you really put emphasis on recovering after the race through Monday. So that means really focusing on recovery on Sunday and Monday. So again, those 3 R's: rehydrate, refuel, replenish, maybe hit the antioxidants, things like that, but really make sure that the muscles and everything are recovered and you're ready to go by the time you get to Tuesday. Saturday race of a long nose. I always get ahead of myself, don't I? I think I got kind of goofed around. So I apologize. So that was a non-long run weekend. So that was a non-16 miler weekend. So if you're reading the blog post, forget it. So essentially everything I just said was in regards to a weekend that was not a long run weekend. So that'd be the weekend sandwich between the two 16 milers. Now we're going into the Saturday race of a long run weekend. So this would be a weekend that you do have a 16 miler. First off, try to avoid this. I recognize that dates will not care when your 16-mile long runs are, but if you can avoid, you should try to avoid this at all costs. With that said, I attempt to live in reality, and you should have a couple options. So let's say there's a 10-mile race on week 13 of your training plan. Your best option would be to Sunday's long run to Thursday and shorten the distance up to 10 to 12 miles. So you really make it a medium long run, something that's going to be, pretty close to an hour and a half for you, depending on your experience level. So, obviously 10-minute pace, if you're doing that, you can get a pretty good long run in. But you want something that's going to be well over an hour. Obviously you probably don't have time to do a 2-hour run during the middle of the week, but if you can get, 75 to 90 minutes in, that's pretty solid. Then keep Friday the same, race on Saturday. If you make the warm up and cool down longer, the total mileage for the day will be close to what the long run would be. So we're not making it completely easy on Thursday because essentially I don't want you to be able to run all out on this. I want you to be tired enough where if you hit marathon pace, that's pretty good. Like if you dip down a little under marathon pace, that's pretty good. I don't want you to be like setting PRs during these things. I want you to treat them like they're going to be workouts. Just make sure Sunday and Monday run very easy. And again, it's always about that next 2 days making a big emphasis on recovery. All right, so Sunday dress rehearsal race. So this would be like if you're going to do a half marathon, typically on Sunday, this is how you would do it. So week 16 and 17, so now you're getting to the point where you're winding down the hard stuff and you're going to start to taper. So you've got your strength workouts, your 10-mile tempos. Long runs are pretty much done at this point. So that last long run is 3 weeks out. So keep that in mind with this. We don't have to worry about getting the mileage in for a long run, but you'll see where some other timing might come into play. So an adjusted plan, you can follow along there. We look at week 16 and 17. So ideally, if you're going to do a dress rehearsal, it's going to be week 16 of your plan, 3 weeks out from your race. I think that's ideal for getting that last big effort in. And you're going to have a little bit of a adjustment the following week, but we can work that out. So the biggest thing people will point out to me. So going back into this. So basically what we're going to do with this is instead of, so week 16, you have six easy strength, and your easy mileage might look a little different, but Wednesday off, 10-mile tempo, Friday, 6 miles easy, Saturday and Sunday are 10 easy. Week 17 is 8 easy. You have your strength workout, your last strength workout, off day on Wednesday, last 10-mile tempo on Thursday, and then 7, 8, 8. So if we do this, let's do week 16, We go 6 easy. So Monday stays the same. Tuesday stays the same. Wednesday stays the same. Thursday and Friday are now both your 10-miler easy. So you're basically moving Saturday and Sunday to Thursday and Friday. Friday, you move to Saturday, give yourself a shorter day to recover just a little bit. And then Sunday, you do the half marathon. Ideally, to me, it's got to be a half marathon, or don't do it if you're doing a dress rehearsal. How you'd approach that, I would say marathon pace for the first 10 miles. And then if you want to pick it up the last 5K, that's fine. But your whole purpose of that Sunday race 3 weeks out is to do a dress rehearsal. So what you're going to eat for breakfast on the marathon, how soon you're going to, how early are you going to get up for the marathon, what uniform you're going to wear for the marathon, how you're going to fuel during the marathon, what you're going to do right after the marathon. So everything you're going to do marathon day, I want you to do on this day. And so it's not necessarily about cranking out a fast time. It's more about just going through the motions of what you're going to do on race day, and just being in an environment where you're going to have to control your emotions, control your pace. Because the worst thing you can do in a marathon is go out too hard. So if you race this too hard, tendency is going to be, all of a sudden you're going to be in a situation on the marathon day, well, I went out too hard on this and it was okay. And it's not going to be okay on marathon day. So I really want you to practice every single thing you're going to do for the marathon. Then you come back and you have Monday 8 easy, Tuesday off. You could even make Monday an off day and Tuesday the 8 easy. That doesn't matter to me. Wednesday you would do your strength workout. 7 would be easy. Friday would be the tempo, and then you'd be right onto the schedule as it is. And so the biggest thing people will point out to me is that the tempo on week 17 has been moved to Friday, which will be 9 days out. So all you hardcore people say, oh, you can't do a workout your last workout's got to be 10 days out. My first response would be very snarky and say that if that were the case and you were that concerned about the schedule, then you wouldn't be racing in the first place. And that's a joke. I'm laughing on the inside. No, just kidding. So, but seriously, like the 1 day isn't going to make a big difference. Honestly, I have people do workouts the week of the marathon just because it makes them feel more consistent with training. So I'm personally not concerned about having 9 days versus 10. And if you are at a point where you need that extra day to recover, then you shouldn't have done that race in the first place, because you're overtrained to begin with. And so that 1 day isn't going to make the difference. And having 10 days wouldn't make a difference. You would have, you should be tapering for 3 weeks at that point if you're that overtrained. And then we've talked about that in other things. So, but essentially, that 1 day isn't going to make that huge of a difference. And what I would say to that too is as soon as that race is over on Sunday, you go into recovery mode, and you take Monday and Tuesday very, very serious on recovery. And then tempo run, you just stick to what you're supposed to do on that tempo run. And then you still have 9 days to clear everything out, get recovered, and be ready to roll a week and a half later. So I realize I probably didn't cover every scenario on this, but this should give you some good guidelines and give you some ideas how to tweak things on your own if the case arises. So like always, leave your comments in the Facebook groups, things like that. Be happy to address anything that we need to address. So thanks for listening. Hope that helps you out. And all right, see ya.